What is up, guys, and welcome back to the vlog. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to install a full set of brand new Fortunato coilovers onto our Project WRX. These are the Fortunato 500 series coilovers. They're 24-way adjustable. They're fully bespoke, fully custom for every single application. You can actually choose the spring rates you want. After working with these guys, we decided for this car, we're gonna do 8K and 6K. That'll be good for a light track use and daily driver project car. So I am super excited to install these coilovers. I don't think the install is gonna be too difficult. So let's go ahead and just get it started. All right, so the first step in most coilover installs is to just go ahead and remove all four wheels. So thankfully we got these awesome bend pack lifts and some nice electric tools here, and let's just get this off real quick. So taking a closer look at the suspension on the WRX, pretty much have these two bolts down here. We have a couple bolts up top, which I'll show you in a second, but I do need to remove, I think this is the vehicle speed sensor, and the brake line bracket from the actual shock itself. Once these two bolts are removed, which I believe are 12mm bolts, I'll remove these two and then I'll pop the hood and show you how to remove the bolts at the top of the strut, which are up there. So this one is definitely a bit tight. I'm gonna go ahead and spray some PB Blaster on all four sides, and hopefully that helps make this a little bit easier to remove.
A few minutes later.
All right, so let's go ahead and call in the big guns here. Got some air tools. There we go. Easy peasy with the right tools. But what's important to note right now is that if you knock these two bolts through, this entire hub will come falling down. So you want to be very careful. You don't want anything to hang on either the brake lines or a sensor or anything like that. So let's be very careful. We'll remove these bolts and then we'll start on the top. I think so for the purpose of this thing not just falling, when I undo the top, I'm gonna go ahead and just toss one back through just to be loose. Let's go ahead and do the top. On the top, you have 3 bolts at the top of each strut tower, so just go ahead and remove those. All right, so just pulled out that other bolt. So I'm gonna try to pull this back carefully. Now this is pretty awkward. Just watch out for all the sensors. And snake this whole assembly through the bottom. There we go. So what I'm gonna do off camera right now is go ahead and remove the driver's side, do the exact same process. So let me check back in with you guys when we can move on to the rears. All right, so moving on to the rear, the setup is actually pretty similar. As you guys can see, you have 2 of the bolts right here on the strut. On the back side, you have a little clamping system that holds down the brake line, and then up top, which you guys can't see, unfortunately, I do have to remove the back seats, the ones that Mickey just installed. So that's where the access is for the upper strut mount. So let me go ahead and get these removed. We'll get that bracket removed for the brake line, and then we'll do the other side, and then we'll remove the rear seats. And I'll show you what that looks like up top. old-fashioned, put the pipe over the breaker bar, get even more leverage on it. Something like this, sometimes you just can't beat it. This is ready to go. Let's move on to the other side. I'm not gonna show you guys that, I don't wanna bore you. So let's just fast forward to when we're inside the car, pulling out the rear seats. All right, so as I mentioned, to access the rear upper strut mounts, you do have to remove these STi seats. So I guess we probably should have planned these mods out a little bit better, but that's okay. So doing a little bit of research online, I have to remove the two 12mm bolts on the bottom half, pull the bottom of the seat out, and then there's gonna be four 12mm bolts on the base of the upper section. Once I remove those, I can remove the top section, then I'll have access to the strut mounts. So as you guys can see now, underneath the rear seats on both sides are the upper strut mounts. So it's gonna be a little bit difficult for me to film by myself, but it does just look like 12mm bolts, 3 on each side. I'll show you guys this side too, over there. And I'm gonna go ahead and carefully remove this side and that side. Just remember that once those drop, this whole assembly can drop down. Now, these bolts are still in there, but there's no nuts on that side. So let me go ahead and set the tripod up. I'll see how much of this I can capture. Oh, if I did everything right, just carefully pull out these bottom bolts, drop the top down, make sure I don't drop the hub. We're gonna be in good shape here. There we go. All right, top's undone. Man, top. Bottom's done, so now just weasel this thing out of here. Okay, careful. Okay, there we go. Rear coilovers out. So let's go ahead and repeat that for the other side. I'm not gonna bore you guys. Just go ahead and put it on time lapse. Here we go. Second one always comes out a lot easier than the first. Overall, some rocks in there, but this is STi suspension and it's in pretty good condition. All right, so guys, at this point right now, we're basically at the halfway point. We have no struts in both the rear and the front. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, I'll just go ahead and just take these coilovers and just slap them on there. No, wrong. That is not what you want to do. So it doesn't matter what manufacturer of coilover you have, you always want to check them. Make sure that both the height adjustment is the same from side to side, as well as double checking the preload. Now, it only takes a few minutes and it can save you so much headache and noises and problems down the road. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to show you how to double check both of those things. To adjust the preload, what you want to do is loosen up both these collars, as I'm showing you here with the wrenches provided. So just loosen that up like so. And then we're going to loosen up the bigger one as well. You might be able to do this by hand. Yeah, you can. All right. So you want to loosen that up all the way until there's no tension on the spring at all. Okay, so basically at this point, there's no pressure on the spring, it's loose. You can actually just measure the overall length of the spring. Typically there's a couple standard sizes of springs. So let me go ahead and back this thing off all the way. We'll see what its natural size is. In this case, it's a 7-inch spring. So that means that once compressed or preloaded, I should be measuring for the front here 6.75 or 1/4 inch of preload. They recommend 1/8 inch of preload in the rear and 1/4 inch preload in the front. Let me go grab a tape measure. We'll take a look. That's it right there. Then what you want to do is tighten up your locking collar here. Okay, now we're going to use both of our wrenches because we want to tighten the locking collar onto this one here. So put them in alternate directions and tighten them against one another like that. Now this dimension here, this spring is preloaded or shrunk or compressed, and that is set. So let's go ahead and move on to the height. Now, most people think that when you adjust the height of a coilover, you're actually changing this, but that's not the case. So what you want to do to adjust the height, loosen the collar on the bottom, and to adjust the height, you want to spin this entire assembly, either making it smaller or making it taller. So the smaller it is, the lower you're going to be. Now, when you first are setting up coilovers, the first initial setting is a little bit tricky. And we're going to tighten this onto the base like so. So at this point now, we now have our coilover. The preload has been set. Everything's good to go. So let's go ahead and I'll just repeat that process on all the other coilovers here, and we'll pop them in the car. Now that all four are done, let's go ahead and pop them in the car. It's pretty much just the reverse of the last process. Now, I know the preload's set correctly. I don't know if the height is set correctly, but at least they're even. So I'm hoping that either the front or the rear or both is spot on and I don't have to make any adjustments. If I do, you pretty much just have to unbolt the bottom section, spin it up or down. What's very important is that you do them even. Now the other thing that's very important to do, which I have not mentioned yet, is once you get coilovers installed, you have to get in alignment. So we will definitely be doing that before we give it away to our next owner. I think what I need to use here is actually a jack to lift up the hub, and I'm gonna have to lower the car just a little bit. What I'm already noticing so far is that the rear, they're way, way, way too small. So let me go ahead and lower this down. I'm gonna compare the new shock to the old one in its current configuration. So as you can see here, this on the right is our STi shock. This is our new Fortune Auto. Now obviously the spring rates are different, but as you guys can see here, we got a solid 5 inches that the new shock is shorter. So my original assessment of the height, totally wrong. We're gonna have to walk this thing up so that this is at least a little bit closer. What I'm thinking right now is we're gonna go 2 inches shorter than the OEM STi strut. All right, so after a little bit of monkeying around, essentially what I did is I lowered the coilover, effectively raised the car up significantly. I think I found a good place where the coilovers are now gonna sit. So I've got this one all bolted in here, but everything is kind of loose. I'm gonna do the other side now, continue on with the front, and then we'll see where we're at. You know, this is one of those things whenever you set up coilovers, you never really know, and you also have to take into account that the car is gonna settle about maybe a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch as well. So let's go ahead and I'll bust out the second side, not gonna film that, and then we're gonna go ahead and move on to the front.
One eternity later.
All right, now in the front, there's one other thing you have to worry about, and that is the position of this camber plate. So you guys can see that. You have some adjustability to adjust the camber in the front. Now that's a really cool feature. It allows you to have kind of a custom alignment, makes it a lot easier to adjust your camber, which if you're running super aggressive wheels, sometimes you have to adjust that. But for our purpose, you know, I'm just gonna leave the camber adjustment where it's at right now, and I'll wait till we get the alignment if I need to dial that in. But what's important is that the direction of the camber adjustment is in the right orientation. So as you guys can see, this is, you know, 3 posts. So potentially it could be installed in the wrong orientation, and then your adjustment would be in the incorrect dimension or the incorrect angle of where you want to adjust your camber. So what you want to do is match up at the top of the strut housing, and you want the camber adjustment to go inboard and outboard of the car, meaning this way, perpendicular to the car. That way you can adjust the camber and not something like the caster, which is adjusted at the bottom, not at the top. This would be the wrong orientation, guys. This is not correct. Your camber adjustment is located in the wrong direction, and you basically have no adjustability of camber, and I'm pretty sure your camber is going to be totally off. We're going to go ahead and just rotate this until that's the right direction, and I just wanted to show you guys what not to do. If you have it set up like this, yours is set up wrong. So just to show you guys the correct orientation, as you guys can see here, the camber adjustment is towards the center of the car, and now that this coilover is set up this way, it's in there correctly. So I'm gonna go ahead and bolt on the bottom section here, and then we're gonna do the other side. We're gonna toss some wheels on it and see where we sit. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the other side. All right, guys, it is the moment of truth. It is time to finally lower the WRX for the first time. Let's see if I nailed it on the first shot. Here we go. Looking actually pretty good. We have about a 1 to 1.5 finger gap right now. Now this car does still have to settle. Let me just make sure. Let's move on to the front. I think the rear is actually perfect. Whoa, the front is still monster trucking. That's actually all the way down. It might even be taller than stock, or it's almost exactly the same. So we got to do something about this front. What I'm going to do, lift the car back up, take off the wheels, lower it down by solid 2 inches, maybe 2 inches and a quarter shorter than where we are right now. I think we're going to be all set. So let's check back in with you guys when that's all done. All right, so after the adjustments were made, ready to put it down, hopefully for the last time. Here we go. Cross your fingers. Now overall, our entire goal for this car was not to just slam it to the ground. I didn't max everything out. We really want to make this car as usable as possible. I think, but to be honest, at this ride height right now, it's perfect. It's gonna settle probably a little bit. I would say maybe about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. I'm not exactly sure. You never really know. But I just want to say a huge shout out to Fortune Auto. Thank you guys so much for getting involved. If you guys are interested in any Fortune Auto products, we are an official retailer now, which is really cool. Thanks to Fortune Auto. Definitely guys, if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Remember, one of you guys is taking home this car. If you're interested in learning how you can get entered to win, check out the link. It's always in the description. In August, you'll receive 4 entries into the sweepstakes. If you sign up in July, you got 6. So shout out to you for signing up early. But if you sign up in August, you'll get 4. But if you wait until September 1st, you're only gonna get 2 entries. So you wanna sign up now, guys. There's a lot of other benefits. You guys get 10 to 40% off performance parts for life from us, which is awesome. So thanks guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely remember to subscribe. Give this video a big thumbs up. We'll see you guys in the next one.